Hey, what's up, everyone? Dragon back again, here to tell you that you should be reading Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon. Yup. So, Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon is a manga series written by Naoko Takeuchi and began being serialized in 1991. And eventually also became adapted into an anime for television, which for a lot of people is probably how they were introduced to it, especially in the West, later discovering the manga. And essentially it follows the story of essentially these teenage girls who are weirdly enough kind of reincarnated from like kind of these warriors that basically lived on in civilization on the moon before they were kind of succumbed to evil. And essentially now they're kind of these resurrected warriors on Earth, kind of like these latent abilities, and now have to kind of face off against the forces of evil that stopped them in the past and are now looking to lay siege on Earth. So on the surface, it's kind of a very kind of black and white, good versus evil story, which for especially like a lot of manga and anime, it's not entirely unheard of. And it might kind of seem strange that why I'm even focusing on this series at all. But one of the interesting things when you start reading Sailor Moon, or even just watching it for that matter, is that especially in an age too, this is the era of also like Dragon Ball Z and what have you, very kind of male-oriented titles where especially in Japan, where you have a lot of these kind of what they would call like shonen style series, where it's always very much aggro or very just male protagonist. Dragon Ball Z. Bio Booster or MacGyver, Fist of the North Star, basically were men fighting other men, and usually the female characters, you might have a few strong ones there, but they're usually relegated, as side characters or essentially just kind of damsels in distress. Where in Sailor Moon, the heroes are women, the villains are women, a lot of the minions are women, and a lot of the male characters in Sailor Moon, with the exception of maybe one or two, mainly like characters like Tuxedo Mask, are essentially playing the roles that women would normally play in these kinds of stories. And the entire universe of Sailor Moon is essentially centered around kind of female power, where it's women are kind of running the show on both ends of good and bad. The head honchos when it comes to the forces of evil are usually female characters, and the people who have to stand against them, the strongest warriors to oppose these evil threats, are female. And this is, excuse me, and this is coming in an age where this is kind of pre, this new modern movement of like, kind of this new wave of feminism where, women are once again kind of rising up and, showing that women are strong, women are, can be heroes, women can essentially, not to get over political here, but essentially women can do what men can do, and that women can be all these different roles that normally are traditionally have usually gone to men. And you're seeing now that become very prominent, and now that's kind of a more socially accepted thing. It's become a norm where you're seeing strong female characters and carrying their own stories. And again, female characters on both the good and bad side, where, if there is a great evil threat, it doesn't have to be a guy with rippling muscles. It can be a strong female character. And who's going to oppose that? It doesn't have to be a guy with big rippling muscles. It can be a female character. And Sailor Moon was doing that before that became kind of in vogue, before that became, you saw a resurgence of that. Sailor Moon was putting women front and center and basically putting the fate of the world, in the hands of these young girls who, when you look at it, usually this is when I was growing up, the guys all had Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, and Sailor Moon was the girl show. And the reason why I kind of got that stigma too was because when you look at Sailor Moon, for these women to be strong and confident and fearless in the face of battle, they're not made to be masculine. They're not like these mammoth, very man-like looking women. Where for basically saying that for a woman to be strong, she has to visually be more reminiscent of a man. They wear dresses, they wear skirts. Some of the evil, characters wear gowns. They're very effeminate, and basically saying that a woman does not have to sacrifice her femininity to be strong. Now, if you're a girl watching this and you're a tomboy, or you just, hey, you know what, I'm a girl, but I like wearing pants and sneakers, and I generally like guy clothes more, that's fine. But what Sailor Moon basically said was that if you don't want to be, if you're not that kind of girl, if you're the kind of girl who, you like wearing dresses, you like wearing skirts, you like heels, God forbid, you like makeup, you don't have to then be relegated to the damsel in distress. You don't have to be like, well, it's I have to pick or choose. You have to be the tomboy if I want to be the hero, or I have to, like girly things, and I guess I can't save the day. Sailor Moon basically said, no, you can look however you want and still be a hero. You can be as fabulous and gorgeous as you want to be, as girly and effeminate, and still be an evil mastermind. The clothes don't make you who you are. Your strength, your power, your formidability, good or bad, comes from you, not what you wear. And it's kind of reflected too when they transform their superhero outfits. The Sailor Senshi, they have the skirts, kind of what they call like the Sailor Fuku outfits, which is kind of like these, almost like Japanese schoolgirl outfits. Kind of embodying this kind of status quo of femininity and saying, look how girly we look, and yet look how powerful we are. That us looking like girls doesn't hinder our ability to kick ass. And what Sailor Moon does is embraces the femininity. It embraces, girls, liking to wear girl clothes. And again, it's not saying that you have to be extremely effeminate to be brave, to be strong if you're a girl. But it's saying that you don't have to not be those qualities or not have those qualities if you want to look that way. And for a lot of girls that I've known, when I started to get more into anime and manga, and eventually it kept, admittedly when I was younger, I would kind of avoid Sailor Moon because I was like, I'd rather watch Goku like, scream and yell for like 6 episodes straight till his hair finally went gold. But as I got older and a bit more mature, I kind of went back to it. I kind of realized that there were a lot of girls that I've met who said that, listen, I like makeup, I like dresses, but when because I like these things, no one thinks I can be strong. No one thinks that I can be confident because I'm a girly girl. Meanwhile, the girl, their friend, who maybe wears a t-shirt or, again, just has a normal pair of kind of unisex jeans, and someone will take them more seriously as a strong, confident woman because she dresses in a manner that is closer to that of the man, using men as kind of, the benchmark. Sorry, by the way, I'm getting over a cold, so if I'm coughing a lot, I apologize. But using that as kind of like, okay, the closer to being and looking like a man you are, the stronger you are, the more of a hero you can be. And the further from that kind of status quo, that imagery you are, the less likely you can be that. And again, Sailor Moon turned that on its head. It's like, no, these girls are going to be super girly, really girly girl. They're going to be wearing, again, high heels. They're going to be wearing skirts. Not because you can't be brave if you God forbid you're a girl and want to wear pants, but because there's been a whole group of girls, a whole segment of society that's saying, if you choose to look this way, you can't be that. Where Sailor Moon basically said, yes, you can, because ultimately being strong is being strong. If you're able to whoop someone's ass, it doesn't matter if you're doing it, sneakers or high heels. What matters is that you whooped ass. If you have superpowers, who cares what you wear? It doesn't matter. Your power is your power. A hero doesn't need to conform to a very specific uniform for strength. You can display elements of femininity and still be strong if you so choose. And what Sailor Moon did was kind of just, leaned into that hard. They're like, well, let's make a show or a series, both the manga and the anime, where the girls don't fit that stereotype of what a strong woman has to be. That they can be young girls, teenage girls, wearing very girly clothing, with a lot of pastel colors, and still be kick-ass and still be badass. And that's what people, I think, were really drawn to. And I think that's why a lot of men were even drawn to that, because, it's, I think for a lot of guys, too, if they say that they like girls that maybe dress that way, I think a lot of times then men get labeled as sexist. Like, oh, you want women to look a very specific way. And for a lot of us, it's like, well, I mean, I'll admit it, when I see Ashley, sometimes dressing more girly girl, I'm like, that looks nice. But I don't say that Ashley gives me a look off camera right now. You guys can kind of see the daggers for eyes poking into me. But it's not because in that moment I see her as weaker or frailer and now she needs me more. It's because aesthetically I think it looks nice. And for a lot of guys, when they would see these girls looking like girls and still being badass, they were kind of, felt maybe vindicated in the sense like, yeah, we're not saying that just because we like you looking that way, I'm saying you can't look anyway, but just because we take notice of you see a girl in a dress and you think she's attractive that way, you're also not saying that she's weak and frail and that's why you find it attractive. You just, hey, a girl in a dress and you think she looks nice. And that's all there is to it. And by having these women dress this way and still be incredibly powerful. It shows that how you dress doesn't matter. It's aesthetic. It's a visual, thing. And I've always said to you, if I, had superpowers one day, my first thought would not be, I need to come up with a super outfit. I'd be going around and probably like, jeans, Adidas sneakers and a freaking death metal t-shirt, and I'd be fighting crime that way. Because the way I look at it, if I have superpowers, I have super strength, or I can fly, well, the hell does it matter what I wear? You know what I mean? It's not going to make a difference. So, I myself would not adopt the superhero status quo, having a super suit even. But they're basically saying that, okay, if these girls are going to have a super suit, it doesn't have to always be some, utility-based, jumpsuit, kind of just very tactical. They can wear something beautiful and elegant and feminine, because ultimately, if they got superpowers, it doesn't matter what they wear. So if they're going to have a super suit, why not make it heels and a dress? Because ultimately, it makes no difference. And that's kind of the point, that you can embrace the aesthetics and the visual cues that you love, because the power comes from within you. It might sound a bit hokey, but it's true. And if you're so focused on what they're wearing or how they look, you're missing the point. You're getting kind of stuck on the superficial, and that's kind of, I think, the undertone of the whole series, is saying, don't judge people, don't judge their worth, don't judge their merit, don't judge their strength based on the superficial exterior. It doesn't matter. What matters is their power. What matters is their deeds. Same thing with the villains. You have some of these villains that look beautiful and stunning, and they are incredibly evil. And again, and you have the Sailor Senshi wearing, heels and pumps and skirt, and they look, fabulous, or they look, they make, some of you might think, oh, they look hot. But what does that matter? Because right now, you could be the biggest, buffest guy. When the Sailor Senshi show up, you're hiding behind them. You're hiding behind guys like me, are hiding behind the girls in skirts, because those girls in skirts can only kick my ass. They're probably the only ones who can keep my ass safe from, another female character in a beautiful dress who can not only destroy me, but the entire city that I'm in. And that's what this franchise does. It tells girls that you can be strong, and you can be strong looking however you want. Don't let what you like determine, or let society determine that based on what you like will determine your role, in a kind of a hero's story. You don't have to be the damsel in distress because you want to wear a dress. And you don't have to wear, pants and sneakers, if you want to be a female hero. You can wear whatever you want. You can look however you want. And if you like things that are considered extremely girly, you can embrace that and still be a badass heroine. And that's what, what I, as a storyteller myself, that's when I later on went back and finally gave, the girls series a chance. What I took away from it was like, wow, it's not about how they look. How they look is kind of more or less a commentary on, what society says, a female hero has to look like, or versus not like saying that normally once upon a time, a female hero could not look like this. This is not what a female hero would dress like. And the Sailor Moon says, why not? I've got superpowers. I'm doing these amazing deeds. I'm saving the world. And you're focusing on what I'm wearing? Who cares? I mean, Superman wears kind of like a big onesie with red Speedos on the outside. But what does it matter? Superman can wear whatever the hell he wants, because, he can fly, shoot lasers out of his eyes, and, pick up a building and chuck it into space. Who cares what he wears? He's super. Who cares what the Sailor Senshi wear? They're the Sailor Senshi. They are the guardians of our world. They are protecting us from malicious forces from beyond. And if that were to ever happen in real life, whoever is able to stand up against those forces and protect us, what they wear, how they look, is going to be the least of our concerns. And that's the point of Sailor Moon. It doesn't matter. They're a very girly girl. Who cares? They're incredibly powerful. They are incredibly brave. And that's the big takeaway for me when I finally read Sailor Moon, was that, wow, these girls are incredibly brave, and they're putting their lives on the line for all of us. And we're getting hung up on the fact they look too girly. And I kind of realized that, wow, we were really kind of just missing the point and denying ourselves a pretty fun read over something so incredibly superficial. So if you're a girl and you dream of being a heroic character, or you just young, and we all have dreams of being superheroes or having some kind of, extraordinary ability, but you like pink, and you like heels, and you like makeup, and that's your bag. You don't have to sacrifice your dreams and fantasies of being a heroic character, or even envisioning a character of your own design who is heroic, but you still like that aesthetic. You can have both because one is not mutually exclusive. And if you're a guy, it's like, it kind of just goes to show you that it matters as our deeds. So you can look up to these female characters with awe and respect, and not be, not take them seriously because, again, they're wearing heels, boots and mini skirts, because ultimately that's kind of the whole point, is that they can look like that and not fall into like a very kind of specific pigeonhole thing, that women who look like that are no less able to be heroic than, again, kind of your more aggro tough girl, who like deadlifts at the gym. Love those girls too. Nothing wrong with that. And yes, those girls can be heroes as well. But just like any kind of man character, any kind of female character can be a hero, regardless of how they're built, what they wear, what they like. What matters is your deeds, the actions in which you take, because actions speak louder than words. So ultimately, they are heroes because of what they do. So, yeah, Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon. In a lot of ways, it was, curiously enough, ahead of its time. And I think it is actually more relevant today than when it first began. And I think it's one of the reasons why it still has persisted as long as it has. And just so you guys don't think I'm a poser, I even have the Eternal edition of Sailor Moon, which I proudly display on my shelf. And I get all kinds of kudos from Ashley for doing so, because she is the one who kind of got me into reading Sailor Moon, because she still is a big Sailor Moon fan, and I was always kind of like, it's the girl one. And she was like, just give it a shot. So one day I went to a local comic book shop, found they had all the volumes on the shelves, started reading through, and I could not stop reading through them. So, I'm a guy who loves Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball, death metal guy. At any given moment, you'll hear me listening to, Cannibal Corpse and Morbid Angel. And yes, despite all that, I read Sailor Moon, and I do so proudly, and I do so lovingly, and it is why today I am recommending it to all of you. So, with that said, Sailor Moon, have you read it, or even have you watched it? If you've never read the manga, but you're familiar with the show, feel free to come in and weigh and give me some of your thoughts. Especially if you're a guy. I know in the past, I've told people I read Sailor Moon, and I kind of get that, like, really? And I'm like, yeah, really? So, if you're a guy and you like Sailor Moon, sing it loud and sing it proud. And for all you girls out there who, like girly things, for you, was Sailor Moon kind of like an empowering moment where you kind of saw too that, hey, just because you like these things doesn't mean now you have to be a damsel waiting for a guy to come save you. Did you find that same sense of kind of empowerment from that? Because again, I have talked to a lot of girls who said that about that. They taught them like, hey, I can wear a dress and I can also be a hero too. So, and if you're not familiar with Sailor Moon, I will leave links in the description section below. You can pick it up, give it a read, come back, give me some of your thoughts. Again, even if maybe the aesthetic is not really your style, I think there's a really great story there that, you can still appreciate, that you can still realize that it doesn't matter how you think about how they look or how they dress. What matters is, like I said, their deeds. And I think if you read it, you'll realize that is what the story is trying to tell you, is that what makes these girls heroes is their heroic acts. So give it a read, come back, give me some of your thoughts. I'd be very curious to hear kind of both sides of the coin. People who are familiar with it, people who are not familiar with what you guys think. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!